Hey there, in this video we're going to look at charts. So let me first add charts. So in chart settings you have your chart types, your chart labels, your data sets, and your uh, specific chart types, and then you have your advanced settings. So let's start with your chart types. So in chart types you can play around with multiple different chart types. You can have line chart, you can have your area chart, you can have your bar charts, and you can have your pie charts, and you can have more. And secondly, you have labels. Labels are your x-axis, as you can see here. Those January, February, March, those are your labels. You can add more labels here. Let's say I'll add July, and now you'll notice you have this empty data point up here, because in our data sets we only have value for these 6 months. So what are data sets? Data sets are your desktop and mobile here. So if you can open up your desktop one, you'll notice it is selected this source variable. That's where your data set is coming from. So let's look into our variables here then. So this data set one, if you'll notice, is an static list. So your data set should return a list of numbers. So it's returning a list which starts with a square bracket and it ended with a square bracket, and it returns a number. So to remove this empty data point, what I can do is I'll just add a new data point to our data set. And it's a chart data set one, which is your desktop data set. So as you'll be able to realize, this is your January value, this is your February value, and so on. This is your July value. And I can do the same for our data set 2 here. I'll just say it's 100 or 90. And in dataset you have multiple different options on top here. You can color your data set. So let's say if I want to color this desktop data set to blue, I can do that. If I want to color the data set to yellow, I can do that. Now let's look into adding a new data set. So what I'll do is I'll just add a new data set, and let's call it tablet. And we'll need to select the source variable for this one. You can of course use an existing one here, but let's create a new one. Let's call it custom dataset 3, and let's just quickly add some values up here till our July. Let's just select custom variable 3. Okay, let's just make it 10, 20, 30. So we have a new dataset ready, and it's also a static one. And let's just change the colors to something different. Now with each chart types you have different options available to you. So let's say for line chart you have this cubic option. Cubic, you can make your line cubic, you can make your line step, I'll just show you what does that mean. Let me just quickly change this to a line chart, and let's show you so if you want these curvy lines, you'll just select cubic. If you want these type of lines, you'll just select step, and you want straight lines, you can just go with this one. And let's come back to our bar chart. So with bar chart you have these rounded corners. You can make them round, you can make them square, you can make them small rounded. And with bar chart what you will also have is combo bar chart. So if you have your data set in bar chart, what you can do is you can make any of your data set or any multiple of your data set to line chart. So this will make it into a combo bar chart. You can do the same with the stacked bar chart. And now let's look into some advanced settings. There are a few different advanced settings, but I'll just go over a few of them. So especially this min and max scale. Sometimes you'll just need to control your y-axis scales. So what you can do here is you can just set the min scale here. Let's say I want to set it to -100, and I just want the max scale to be 1000 here. So this is how you would go about it. And you can name your x-axis and you can name your y-axis. So let's call it months, let's call it amount or something. Next, now let's look into how to go about making this data set dynamic. So let's say we have our desktop as a line chart, and what I'll do here is to explain this example, I'll just remove everything up here. Let's So now let's look into how we can go about making this data set dynamic. So let's start off with a basic list. So what I'm saying here is, so this is month one, month two. For my example, I'm just saying this is month one, month two, month three, month four, month five, month six, and so on, month seven. And now what I want to do here is I just want this one to multiply, one to power over whatever the user enters. So let's say this would be 1 over power number, which will still be 1. So let's just also add this to our number. And let's just test it out first. So, so as you can see, we in our custom data set, in our custom data set 1, what we were doing here is 2 to the power number, and we only did it for the first two values, the January and the February value, and 2 is raising to the power of whatever the user inputs. So, so basically this is creating this effect for us. And to make this process a little smoother for us, and instead of doing this to each of our data set value, um, instead of doing this to each of our data set value, we can do something a little neater here. So let me create some space for up here. And now to make this formula a little neater and simpler, what I'll do is I'll just add a new list, and let's do the exact thing what we were doing before, but this time we are going to create a new function, and let's call this function n. We could name it anything, uh, and this function is going to take these numbers as a parameter. So when this function runs for the first time, it will get 1 as a parameter. When this function runs for the second time, it will get 2 as a parameter. When this function runs for the third time, it will get 3 as a parameter. So I'll just call it month because we have months in each of our list element. And what we have is what we were saying before was month over number. So we just created a function which takes month, and we are doing month to the power of whatever the user inputs. So now the last step would be to use a map function and just pass it our list and our function. So what this map function will say was exactly the same thing that we are doing up here. What this will say to the function was for each of this list element, run this function. So for the first time, it will run fn with the 1, which raises to the power whatever the user imports, with it same for the 2 1, and same for the 3, and same for the 7th one. So let's just remove everything and let's just test our charts. So as you can see, it's creating a little trend chart for us now. So this is how you would go about creating a dynamic chart. So this is all for this video, and I'll see you next time.